Hey guys, so just thought I'd jump on real quick and show you what we're doing for dinner tonight. So something really quick, something easy that we do not all the time in the house, but we do it fairly often. When we used to own our meal prep company, we actually did this as one of our recipes and a lot of people really enjoyed it. So doing a beef bolognese. Now obviously everyone has their different interpretations of what a bolognese is, but for me, the way we like it is just basically it is beef marinara sauce and lots of different veggies in it. Now, I wasn't thinking about things properly when I made the decision to do this tonight, and everyone's kind of excited about it. I don't have all the veggies I normally do, so it's not going to be as veggie loaded as it normally is. Most of the time we add in like, oh goodness, squash and zucchini, bell pepper, onion, mushrooms. In the past, I used to actually make my own marinara sauce as well. These days, I will admit, a little bit lazier. This is by far our favorite brand. It has a little less sugar than most of the others, and it tastes fantastic. So we do rouse most of the time these days. And when I am not being lazy, I will actually get tomatoes and I'll make up my own marinara sauce. But today, I literally just have bell pepper and onion. And then I like to use these roasted bell peppers as well. They're actually really yummy and just add a little extra flavor. And then the rest is just gonna be seasoning. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting some of my veggies chopped up, and then I'll be back in a sec. All right, so I've got all of my veggies nice and cut up now. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray my pan. I got a nice big size pan here that'll fit all of the goodies in it. And then let's go ahead and get this into here. All the veggies. There we go. So I did one whole bell pepper. I did probably about half of a red onion. And then I probably did, I don't know, maybe a cup worth once it was cut up of these, just a little bit for flavor. With it being bolognese, I don't like to mince it too small, so you'll see that they're pretty chunky. I like having big chunks. I did cut up the roasted red peppers a little bit smaller, and I do like my onion just a little bit smaller. I don't have it minced, but I have it smaller than the bell pepper. The bell pepper I like to have chunky. When I do mushrooms, zucchini and squash, I like to keep those nice and chunky as well, so you have like good hearty sustenance to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this cooking up. I'm actually gonna move it over to the bigger burner. And I'm gonna just add a little bit of the olive oil spray to the top to kind of help crisp those up a little bit more. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this cooking up, and once we get a nice little sizzle going on, I will come back. All right, so those guys are nice and fried up. Got a nice little browning / blackening to them. So now I'm just cutting open my meat. I'm gonna add in, these packs are 2.25 pounds of 96% lean ground beef. So it's pretty dang lean meat. So we're gonna add that in. As you can see, got that yumminess there. Gonna get it all mixed up and stirred. Gotta wipe my hands off real quick. This thing, I don't know what in the world it's called, but all I know is it is the best thing ever for breaking up meat. So much easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this here for now. Get this all mixed in together. If I was doing more meat, then I'd add more veggies. You know, usually I have significant amount of veggies with this. Now, a lot of people ask, you know, how do you measure out your meat perfectly when you're doing something like this? Because it's got, you know, a lot of veggies in it, and then it's also going to have some marinara sauce in it. And I'll admit, it is more of a, we call it a guesstimate. So we have a general idea of like how much meat looks good. And so what we've done in the past when we were first kind of learning how to do all of this, we would measure out the meat and then we would kind of like measure out the sauce, and then we would kind of get an idea of what that combined weight would be. And so now we just kind of do similar, where it's like, okay, if I'm gonna have 4 ounces worth of meat or 5 ounces worth of meat, you know, I'll measure to this, and I know that it's going to be roughly, you know, 2 additional ounces for the sauce, you know, and, you know, an additional ounce for the veggies, you know. So I would take it, if I'm doing 5 ounces of meat, I would take it to 8 ounces, is what my final would look like to compensate for the meat and the veggies, or sorry, the sauce and the veggies. So it really doesn't have to be super complicated. Now, usually, you know, we would still try to, you know, try to keep them separated, but there's times where just the flavor is too good not to mix it together. So I'm gonna go ahead and now get some of my seasonings going in here now that I've got that nice and stirred up. Let's see. Now for this, I like to do kind of a combination of things. Sometimes I'll add in sweet basil. I'm not feeling sweet basil tonight, so I think I'm actually going to hold that out. But I've got Italian seasoning, and I know this sounds interesting, but this is actually fantastic. Smoked paprika. Add that in for it just gives it a delicious little extra flavoring. And then, of course, my trusty little Lowry's garlic salt. So let's go ahead and get these guys sprinkled into our pan over here. With the garlic salt, again, you know, I mentioned previously, you want to kind of err more on the side of caution and put less before you put too much in, if that makes any sense. So with the Italian seasoning, for this amount of meat, I'm basically doing about a pinch and a half of the seasoning. That's the best way of putting it. I don't measure, I never really have. So when people ask me for my recipes, I half the time really don't know. I just grab and go. So similar, I'm just grabbing a pinch of the smoked paprika, and I'm actually gonna do 2 whole pinches of that. The garlic salt, I would probably say, since I'm using the sprinkler part of it, I couldn't tell you exactly how much I'm utilizing of it, but I probably would say I do 3 or 4 passes of shaking it over the meat. And then once the meat is kind of cooked up, I will sample what it tastes like and add additional seasoning afterwards. Because again, you can always add more. You can never take away once you put way too much in. So always add a little less and add more as needed. I'm gonna go ahead and let this cook and then be back. All right, let's take a look. As you can see, it looks like it's nice and done. I'm gonna give it a little taste. Okay, I'd added a little extra garlic salt already earlier. It is now perfect, but I do want to add a little bit additional smoked paprika. So I'm gonna add another pretty hefty pinch to it. Get this stirred up real quick. And then we'll give it another little sample, see how it tastes. Let's see. Dropping everything. Let's take a look. What do we got? That's perfect. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is add my marinara sauce to it. Again, I like the sauce to be more chunky than saucy. So we're going to actually, this has already been opened, so it's not full. We've used a little already, but let's see about how much I want to add. Is going to be based on how thick I want. So I'm adding, right now I've probably got a third, maybe a little more than that, of the jar in here. I'm gonna stir it up and see how thick it is. Now in the meantime, while I did this, I actually got my water going for my noodles. Another thing that we do quite often, my little secret sauce, I guess you can say, is garlic salt to the water. A lot of times they say if you add salt to the water, it helps it boil a little faster. I don't know whether that is truth or not, personally. But we always add a little garlic salt to our water because it then actually flavors and makes the pasta have a little bit of a garlicky flavoring to it. So really like doing that. Okay, that needs a little bit more sauce. So on average, we usually add pretty close to a whole can or a whole jar of this. So most likely I will use all of it, but we will see. Get this nice and mixed up. And again, you can also add however much of the sauce if you want it to be saucy, you know, have more to it or less to it. You can always add however much you want, so it's gonna be based on your decision. So I am using the last of this. The kids actually like it being a little saucier. Well, they don't mind the meat, but they like having a little bit more of the sauce tasting to it. So this looks about right. I could add a little bit more, but I don't feel like opening another jar. I think this will be just fine. So kind of give you an idea what it looks like. So as you can see, it's still pretty meaty and saucy, or meaty and chunky, and it's just a little bit of sauce to taste. So you can also add additional sauce just to the individual plate if you wanted more. But the nice thing about this is it's just saucy enough for us. Okay, now I'm just gonna let that simmer until the noodles are done. That way all the flavors kind of get together. So I've got it on low. I'm gonna add a little lid to it. And then we're gonna hopefully get this guy going. Now my son, he is type 2 diabetic, and along with that comes being celiac. So he is gluten intolerant. So we tend to buy gluten-free noodles 90% of the time. There are occasions where they are out and we will get regular noodles. He doesn't seem to be overly affected. So he says, he prefers to pretend like he's not celiac. And so it's hard for us to get him to stay away from gluten completely. And so whenever we have the opportunity to be able to be the one putting the food in front of him, we try our hardest to keep it gluten-free. But surprisingly, like, they've gotten really good with the noodles these days. Still not a huge fan of the gluten-free bread, so I don't blame my son for not liking it. But they've got gluten-free pasta. They've got gluten-free like tortillas that are actually not too bad. We do have things like Oreos in our house, and they have gluten-free versions. They have gluten-free cookies that are your actual yummy ones. So I don't know if we have any of them right now. Nope, we don't. But they actually have like the Chips Ahoy that are gluten-free as well. So we try to keep, like, if we have any snacks in the house, we try to keep them gluten-free for him, with the rare occasion allowing him to have something that is not gluten-free. But most of the time, him being 17, he has a tendency of going and buying his own stuff. And so we can't really stop him there. So again, what we can try to control, we do try to control to help him have a little bit less gluten in his system, because we know that it's not good for him. So anyways, while this is getting boiling and that is simmering, I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup and I'll be back. All right, so our pasta is done. I while I was doing this, I also got some sides going. So I've got some green beans going on. The kids really like green beans. And the Bolognese is nice and steamy and delicious now. And one of our favorite go-tos when we have an Italian dish is we make a kind of like a homemade, it's almost like a garlic bread. We add just a little bit of reduced fat Parmesan cheese, garlic salt, and we use, I can't believe it's not butter, the spray. And for David and I, we use one of our things that we like to utilize is either Dave's Killer Bread, or we also like the Sara Lee Delightful, because you can actually have 2 slices of bread for a single one that the kids have. So we'll do that, so that way we can indulge in having a couple of them. Now with tonight's dinner, I have extra carbs from earlier in the day, so I can have both a little bit of pasta as well as my 2 slices of bread, and it'll still be within my macros for the day. What we will do when we serve up our dish, we will actually measure out our pasta first, so that way we know that we're having the exact amount of carbs that we want, or that we're supposed to be having, and then we will measure out the Bolognese on top of it. So that's how you can kind of make a dish like this and still have it fit fairly well into your macros. So I'm going to wait for the bread to finish up and then get this served up to the family. Right, so as you can see, it's been measured out. Dinner is ready. This one we'll be eating here too. And that one is going to be coming over here in a second. Dinner time.